Hi, everyone. So while everyone's getting in on this, I want to kind of invite you to uh, our webinar where we're going to talk about increasing the monthly recurring revenue with backup and disaster recovery. Before it gets started, I just want to do a quick poll, just kind of get, while the other people are coming in, just kind of get your interest on why you're actually here, that type of thing, so we can make sure that we cover this for you. We'll just give it one more minute while people are still rolling in. While that's happening, I will say that this is going to be recorded, and we'll send out the recording afterwards, all that fun stuff. If you have issues hearing me or any questions during the presentation, please use the question box and go to meeting or go to webinar in this case, and we will have a question and answer session at the end of it. We are going to be respectful of your time. This is scheduled for 30 minutes, so we will go through and try to meet that deadline. Let's put it that way. But while that's happening, it looks like we're pretty good with that poll, and there's a lot more people that have joined in the last minute, so we'll kind of start going. So I'll close that up. All right. So with that, I want to kind of give you an idea of who's on the line with you. So my name is Nathan Forage. I am VP of Strategic Solutions here at Nova Backup. David is also on the line with me. David, if you want to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Nate. Yes, my name is David Goodman. I'm a product marketing manager at Buffalo, and we're very excited to have you guys spending your time with us and learning about how we could help you drive up some monthly recurring revenue with our BDR. We have a second poll question that we're going to throw up on the board so we can get started. So let's start with that.
Yep, it should be viewable now. It's basically, do you currently offer a BDR solution to your customers? Looks like we've got pretty much everyone on that already. So I'll close that poll and then give back to you, David.
Perfect. Okay, so it looks like it's a bit of a dead heat on who's offering BDR and who isn't. So let's talk a little bit about the agenda for this afternoon or morning, depending on where you're at. So we're going to talk about why now is a good time to consider a new or even BDR solution in the first place. We'll talk about the anatomy. Nate will talk about the anatomy of a BDR solution. For those of you who currently sell BDR, this might be a little redundant, but hopefully valuable nonetheless. We'll go into some of the benefits that we see with our combined solution, the Nova Backup and Buffalo solution. And then we'll talk about finally the our options for your customers, and then concluding with a Q&A session. So why now is a good time to consider BDR solutions or even a new BDR solution? Well, there's really three things that we see going out there right now. There's a lot of global instability, market consolidation, and then constantly evolving best practices. So when we look at global instability, there are cybersecurity issues, right? There are constant new ransomware variants. And really your BDR solution is potentially your last line of defense. So you can roll back to a previous state of a backup copy that you have. There's spillover from conflicts. We've got, conflicts going on throughout the world. It affects gas prices, it affects the supply chain, it affects, cybersecurity. All of these lead to instability in the global place. And then supply chain, right? We're all facing this, whether we're trying to get new servers or networking equipment. I know servers, I'm hearing from partners, there's generally about a 6-month wait for networking gear. I heard yesterday from a partner that they're waiting for wireless access points for about a year. They're going to be waiting for that. Additionally, there's a constant market consolidation, right? So, there's a major player in the BDR space. They've been purchased, right? So there's corporate takeovers, and this will cause changes to contracts, and in terms of product development and support offerings, right? So I know one of these players got acquired last week. They sent an announcement to their resellers saying they were getting out of the networking space. Only, Nate, when we were talking earlier today, only to follow up with, they rescinded that message. So they are going to continue to sell networking equipment. So there's a lot of uncertainty going on with that. And then finally, evolving best practices. So whether your customers are compelled to follow or obliged to follow HIPAA for medical or PCI for the processing card industry, right? Those are best practices. And what we really see as the gold standard of best practices is really the cybersecurity requirements. So this is something that if your customers have the cybersecurity insurance or the cyber insurance, if they don't, it's a good sort of checklist to use to get them up to that level. And then if they need to acquire cyber insurance, they've got everything in place. I know, Nate, we were talking a little bit earlier on how you were helping a reseller with the renewal.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm seeing, in the MSP space is when these MSPs are going to renew their insurance, for liability and all this other stuff, usually they have some sort of cyber insurance portion to it too. And we're getting from these MSPs new requirements that their insurers are actually asking. And in some cases, the insurance places aren't even renewing their insurance because of all the liability and all this other stuff from ransomware and etc. So they're putting a lot more stringent requirements on that. The one that you were talking about, David, that I was helping last week, is it was MSP that they're coming to us. They couldn't actually use the software that they're using for their backup and disaster recovery because it wasn't one of the quote unquote approved solutions for their insurer. So that's why they were coming to us, and we are going through all the things that their insurer was requiring and kind of going through all of that. And I mean, it's becoming more and more prevalent in the industry. I'm hearing from a number of MSPs that are getting hit with this. Part of that insurance and part of making sure that you check that checkbox on the insurance is managing your liability to your customers and in the end your reputation to your customers for if you don't have a good solution and have that very well put together and know what you're doing, all of a sudden if you lose data or someone's down for a day, like half a week or something like that, that is going to get out on the reputation for you as an MSP or reseller. So it's one of those things where making sure that you're taking care of that best practice is something that really is helps with obviously the insurance requirements and your reputation and liability for those. We're talking a lot about BDR, and it looked like most of you guys kind of know what a BDR solution is, and some of you are already selling it and that type of thing. But I want to give you just a very, very high level overview of what a BDR is when we're talking about a BDR. I'm not going to go into technical deep dive on this or demo or anything like that, that is going to be scheduled. We're going to do a webinar on purely technical in the near future, but this is just kind of a high level overview of this. So in the middle, you have your on-premise customer network, where they have their line of business apps, servers, that type of thing, workstations, etc. And then all of that is being backed up to a local appliance, and then typically backed up also to the cloud storage, and all of that managed through a central management console. So that is high level overview of what we're talking about when we're talking about a BDR solution. Most of the time you're talking about that local appliance can also spin up VMs and that type of thing. And that's kind of where we're fitting here. And speaking of fitting, what kind of, what's the perfect person, what perfect customer for, in this case, we're going to talk specifically about the Novavac BDR that we're kind of giving you an overview on, but this is really a good template of where to go after too. The best type of person to go after, best type of customer is some sort of professional office, something like medical dental office, CPA. We've seen some interesting ones with like lawyers and other things, but typically they don't have a whole lot of compute required, but they do have a bunch of servers, and they have limited resources. They do what they do, but they don't really have any sort of dedicated IT people or anything like that. And usually the best type of people to go after is people that are highly regulated or have requirements for compliance issues. Like, a dentist office is a great example. We have, tens of thousands of dentist offices with our software using it and that type of thing. And these guys are required to back up their data, required to, basically have it in multiple places. And it's a very easy sell to check that checkbox for HIPAA and everything else. Kind of with that, I wanted to hand it over to David just to kind of go over some of the benefits that we're talking about when we're talking about BDR.
Yeah. So when we look at like a dentist office, for example, my dentist has, I think, like 5 hygienists working, and if they're fully scheduled, for 8 hours a day, that's 40, in our language, 40 billable hours. If their network goes down and they can't access their charts or they can't access their imaging software, that's a huge opportunity cost. Not to mention everything on the front desk and scheduling for upcoming appointments, right? So we could help them with that. Now, when we look at the benefits of BDR, here we're going to talk a little bit more about the benefits to you. So you could increase your monthly recurring revenue. Now, I wish I had a really easy formula you could plug in and say, hey, this is how much you're going to make in additional MRR. Problem is each of your businesses are different. Each of your regions are different. Each of your customers are different. So, what I would say when it comes to pricing is price it based on the value it brings that company and what they're willing to pay. So if you've got a dentist office, I would say, consider charging them a little bit more than you would charge a CPA, right? Office, if depending, right? So I'm not here to tell you how to run your business, but take these into account and don't don't leave anything on the table. So what I've seen is within the last 2 years in a COVID world, post-COVID world, is partners who have that that monthly predictable monthly recurring revenue have been able to weather the ups and downs on projects. When they're not able to get hardware for 6 months or a year, right, they're able to keep their lights on. In fact, a lot of them are growing because they've got sound businesses, right? So supply chain disruption. So if you've got a server down and it's due to a hard drive or a component failure, and you can't get that component for however long, in our solution, with our solution, you can use it to be up and running while you're waiting for that supply chain, right? It builds stickiness with your customer. You're that trusted advisor. You are the one who helps them keep their business afloat when there's technological issues there. Allows you to focus on your core competencies, right, and create that predictable workflow. So, in the event that something happens, you already have a plan. Which of your team members are going to be doing what and that. So ultimately, you're going to save on tech support time. And then particularly with our solution, there are several ways that it's priced. It can expand your customer reach. So if you're using a different BDR solution at present that's a little bit more expensive, right? What about those 3-person offices or those small offices that don't need a large BDR solution, right? So this is something you could put into those environments and have either a subscription-free BDR solution or a very modestly priced BDR solution. So when to introduce a BDR to your customers? Frankly, I would say whenever you can. But some of the times to introduce it is, when you're onboarding that new client, you're doing those, going through your checklist or your quarterly health checks. If there's a security incident with, let's say, out in the industry with your customer or with a different customer, right? Those are good times to bring those conversations up when they're top of mind. Penetration testing. I know Nate, you've helped partners with this, introducing BDR during a good penetration test.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're talking about penetration tests and that type of thing, one of the things that a lot of the MSPs that I work with and talk with are doing is what they call like a tabletop type exercise. Ransomware and cyber attacks and everything else, fire, flood, earthquake, hurricane, derecho in the Midwest, what have you. They're more prevalent, and they're doing these tabletop exercises of what happens if, what happens if Susie clicks on this email and everything starts getting encrypted. What happens then? What does our data recovery look like? How long are we going to be down, and how long, how much data are we actually going to lose? That's how long you're going to be down and how much data you're going to lose is what we call in the industry RTO and RPO, restore time objective and restore point objective. Restore time is how long before I come back up, and restore point is how much data am I basically going to lose? Am I going to lose a day's worth of data? Am I going to lose a hour's worth of data? And those type of things are really a good catalyst to start talking about. Hey, our current solution, you're doing normal backups, you're backing up to a USB drive, and most of the time Susie's taking it home with her, and things are good, but we have a better solution now. It's 2022. We can do stuff so you don't have to manually take a USB drive home or what have you. We can make sure that we can bring up a machine fairly quickly in order to get you going and at least limping along while things are happening in the background, while I'm waiting for hardware or what have you, or configuring some new thing. This is things that you can talk about during that tabletop exercise to kind of say, hey, this BDR solution kind of fits better in this than what we're currently doing. Hardware refresh is also another, very easy one to kind of look at too. Hey, we're doing hardware refresh, we're getting a bunch of servers, or we're consolidating servers to go virtual, or in some cases we're getting rid of a lot of the servers and just keeping like files locally or something like that. Talking about a BDR at that point is a small line item into usually a much larger hardware refresh. So it doesn't have to be this huge huge thing that they have to deal with. It can be, a small line item that makes sense, in some cases costing, as little as, what they're paying on for their cell phone in some cases. So that it's something that should be brought up when that hardware refresh is kind of happening. Talking about, what we provide, the Nova Backup BDR Essentials appliance, that name kind of says it all. It's, our Nova Backup BDR, backup and disaster recovery, and it's the essentials. It's the essentials for what these small professional offices really need. And you as an MSP, we have a remote central management console that you can manage all the backups from this. Does your local and cloud backups. It's an all-inclusive solution, so you don't need to count up how many machines you have, how many sockets, or all of that for this solution. It's all inclusive for these small businesses. And one of the things that really kind of sets us apart is the US-based support. US-based support, everyone claims to have US-based support, and well, a lot of them, claim to have US-based support. But as I oversee all of the support guys, I can tell you all my support guys are either former sysadmins or former MSP technicians, that type of thing. So your techs, or yourself in this case, in a lot of cases, aren't going to be spending a lot of time on the phone on hold or going through a bunch of scripted answers or anything like that. My guys, the person you're going to get a hold of is going to be the person that basically takes care of you in almost all cases. We talked about regulatory compliance and vertically integrated customers and that type of thing. If you need us to sign a BAA or anything like that, that's something that we do. It's not that big a deal for us. And we've been in the medical dental industry, data protection for, let's see, I've been with Nova Backup for over a decade, let's put it that way. And we've been in there ever since. So, I mean, we have a long-standing relationship with a lot of medical dental types of solutions and software. So most of my guys, unless it's a brand new piece of software, my guys actually know what you need to do in order to back up and recover most of that stuff. And kind of as David was talking about before, predictable low-cost pricing. So if you want to just buy the hardware and that type of thing, and put software on top of it, we can do that. That's a one-time purchase type thing. But we also have very low-cost, I'll call it monthly recurring subscription costs that would include the hardware along with the cloud solution and everything else. So there are multiple different options for that. Right now is when I would normally go into like a demo and that type of thing, but as we're a little short on time. We put it for a half hour or two because we know you guys are so busy. We wanted to make sure that everything's good, but we do have options for one-on-one consultations. We can go through it one-on-one and in-depth and technical if you want, but we also have there's going to be another webinar upcoming that we kind of go a deep dive into the technical side. We'll do demos and that type of thing. We just want to make sure this is a high level overview of what we're currently offering and kind of get you some good questions on it. From there, we're going to go into some of the questions that have shown up during this. Looks like there's a couple good ones here. One of the easy ones here is, is it Windows only, or do you do Linux or Mac? The solution for the backup software and that type of thing is a Windows only solution. But one of the things that is good is this is both servers and workstations, so you don't have to buy a different piece of software for a server versus a workstation or anything like that, or laptop. Those are all good. Something for you, David. Question on like the warranty on the actual what is this? Oh, okay, drives. Okay, so he's talking about what happens if one of the drives dies in the NAS itself. Yeah. So is it like? Can you explain what the replacement
Absolutely. So the Buffalo Windows NAS um, that works with the Nova backup software, um, it will ship with either 2 or 4 drives in RAID 1 or RAID 5, and it comes with a 3-year warranty out of the gate. So, and we also provide lifetime support on that. So if a drive were to happen to fail, you would call into our tech support. It's US based as well, and it's 24/7. And then we will diagnose it, make sure that it's the drive problem, and then we'll send out a new drive. That warranty could be upgraded to a 5-year warranty. And then what happens is after the warranty expires, if you have a drive failure, you could still call into support. They will help you. They will walk you through it, and then you would just have the opportunity to acquire a drive, on your own. You could, with a Buffalo replacement drive that you could purchase if you wanted to. So 3-year warranty out of the box, upgradable till 5 years, 24/7 US based support.
Okay, perfect. Another question. Oh, this is a good one. Um, we might have skimmed over this a little bit too much, I guess. What OS or what's on the box itself? So it is a Windows storage, Windows IoT 2019, correct, David? Yeah, it's
Yeah, essentially it's a Windows Server 2019 platform with specifically with the IoT version. So there are no CALs on that. So um, on there, so you don't have to buy additional licensing. You could use it as you could use it for this BDR purpose. You could use it as a file server. You could even get creative with it if you need a whole lot of data. You could use it with Windows storage spaces actually, and we have
yep.
people who've deployed over, I don't know, like 10 of our 192 terabyte devices. So um, behind it, right, to increase that storage pool. So you have a lot of flexibility with the device running the Windows Server platform.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of expand on that a little bit because I've seen a couple MSPs basically are replacing um, their file servers with this device, and then getting another device for the actual BDR solution part of it too. It makes a lot of sense, especially when a lot of line of business apps are going to the cloud and that type of thing, and Office 365, et cetera, et cetera. Um, that is something that we're seeing a lot more of, and it makes a lot more sense to use one of these IoT boxes as a file server than spending you know spending and waiting an obscene amount of money and obscene time for the normal big box Dell, HP, all that fun stuff.
I I think Nate, I think you hit the nail on the head there. The waiting for the server, waiting
It
six
is the
months.
way. Yeah.
The one of the benefits with Buffalo is we actually have, knock on wood, we have it for now. So hopefully this webinar um, will will challenge this a little bit. We have inventory. We've got we've taken an aggressive inventory position here. So there's not, you don't have to wait 6 months. We can
Oh,
get something out
yeah,
to you
and
soon.
I'll confirm on that because one of our MSPs, um, they bought another, they bought another one. It was last week, and it shipped the next day. I was just blown away that it was that quick compared to what I'm seeing on some of my other stuff. Let's put it that way.
And then Nate, if you could advance the slide one
Yeah.
time, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to get in touch with us. Um, Reach out, if you've got a relationship with your channel account manager at Buffalo, reach out to them. We're going to be following up this webinar with a recording of this, and then we'll be reaching out as well. But if you want to get in the front of the line, feel free to email us at buffalobdr@novabackup.com. And then we'll follow up with you to schedule your consultation with that, and we'll do a deep dive, we'll do the demo, and we'll talk about your specific use cases accordingly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, David, for watching the time. Yeah, I just realized. Yeah, it's already 30 minutes for somehow. Yeah.
So, any last questions um, before we conclude?
No, it looks like we're all good there. So yeah, I think we're good on the questions. And again, if you have any more questions or anything else that you want to discuss, just shoot a quick email to buffalobdr@novabackup.com. We'll get right back to you.
And Nate, thank you. It's always a pleasure working with you. And I wanted to thank our attendees. We sincerely appreciate your time, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Yeah, I really appreciate working with you too, David. So yeah, it was great working with you and a great webinar. And thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you. Bye-bye.